Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and I'm appearing before you today because I was looking at some clips online on YouTube, and I came across this really great clip of Charleston White. He was on a panel discussion on the Fresh and Fit clips, and what he was discussing was how women back in the day, more towards the 30s to 50s era, were not concerned with getting their lick back. They were not concerned with getting revenge on partners who didn't value them or stepped outside of their marriage or relationship. And what Mr. Charleston White was stating was this is because women took their vows, their marriage vows, or whatever vow that they made to their partner in front of God and in front of the church more seriously. And the woman's revenge back in the day would have been the man feeling guilty for all the wrong that he did to her over the years, and yet she still stayed faithful by his side. And that was the way that women got their lick back in the day. And Mr. Charleston White makes a great point by saying, nowadays women just want to get even. If the man cheats, they want to cheat back. If the man's a pervert, the woman wants to be a pervert. But it makes the woman step down, or in class, and it makes the woman not be seen in a more feminine light when she pursues getting her lick back. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of question and throw it out there that are you more of a godly woman by not reacting? And when I say not reacting, I'm not talking about not confronting, not having an argument, or not, being emotional. I'm saying, are you more of a godly woman by keeping your vow for better or for worse in whatever condition that is? I'm not necessarily advocating for always getting your lick back, but hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. But I did want to know, does keeping your vow for better or for worse and staying in it and not walking away make you more of a godly woman, or does it make you gullible, or does it make you be perceived as you don't know what your worth is? I think that's the thing that has always because I think at some point this is also the thing that attributes to the fear between commitment of men and women and getting married, because just as many men out there who are saying, no, I'm not getting married, and marriage has no benefits, and there's no benefit for a man to get married, there's a lot of women who have those sentiments as well. And I'm thinking about what's being discussed in this panel, and I'm just looking at it from the perspective of maybe this is where this lace of trauma comes from, with a lot of people just not wanting to be committed into a marriage or in a union. Is it because we saw a lot of dysfunction in married relationships over the years and in family dynamics? Is that why we're not getting married in higher rates? Are we afraid that as a man, are men afraid that if they get married, especially in the body of Christ, that it would end in one, financial ruin, or two, they could make the mistake of getting married to, and I personally think men in the body of Christ are afraid of marriage because in the event that it doesn't work out and they have to separate or get a divorce, I feel like the church is really hard on men who get divorced, and they kind of like annex them or blacklist them in a way, because it's like you got a divorce or you lost your wife, or it's automatically associated with like some negative connotation, as if a divorce wasn't already the death of a marriage, and as if maybe that person, that man who got divorced, wasn't already mourning his relationship. Do we really have to add more insult to injury by automatically throwing blame or looking at this individual as a failure or someone who's not necessarily fit for any kind of responsibility role in the body because they're not able to handle or run a household? So I kind of just looked at it from that perspective, because there is a lot of negative stigmatism that men get in the body of Christ once they are divorced. we all hear the stories of, yes, we got divorced and she got all of the friends in the settlement, in the relationship. I want to know, like, how many men in the body of Christ have gone through the process of being married in a loving relationship, having their relationship while they were, in the body of Christ, while they were working in ministry, while they were doing whatever they were doing, or just simply attending church, and then the relationship fell apart. Did the community within the church ban around the woman and abandon the man? What was the outcome with that? I see actually a lot of examples of that, where men are grossly isolated in the body of Christ after they are divorced, and not all divorces are the man's fault. So that's kind of weird to pick sides on that too. Not everything is the man's fault, but with that being said, I just wanted to kind of start the conversation and get it going. Is there a phobia around being married because of not only the financial constraints that it can have on a man, but also the emotional toil of having community backlash and having really a lot of people just turn their backs on you after the stigmatism. I talked a little bit about women wearing a scarlet letter of shame within the body of Christ for maybe having a background of, being with multiple sleeping with people vicariously, whether they were in the church or outside of the church doing it. But men also wear scarlet letters when there is a death of a marriage. And so how are we approaching that in the body of Christ modernly today? Are there support groups for men who have been divorced? Are there accountability groups for men who have been divorced while in the body of Christ? Or is there also support and accountability for both parties, the woman and the man? If a couple is in church and they get divorced, not a couple that's like, married in the running the church or in the office of pastor, prophet, preacher, not in that position, but if you're just a churchgoer and you get divorced, let's say you're male and female and the man leaves the relationship for whatever reason, the relationship falls apart, do you also leave the church? Did the church ban around you? Does anybody reach out to you? Or do they turn their backs on you and start to shun you? Because now it's like you're a sinner, or you can't even run your household, so you're not a man, I guess, because of the failure of the relationship. Do men in the body of Christ feel like there's isolation, backlash, shame, and guilt that comes from their church community when there is a dissolution of their marriage? And what can we do in the body of Christ to be more understanding and have more accountability and group support for men who are divorced in church? A lot of men I see who get divorced in church, they're not in church anymore. And usually the woman has some sort of support system, whether it be her family, friends, or the people within the church. But they're not, the men, they kind of get shunned out, pushed out, especially if they start seeing someone else or if they start a relationship with someone else. I've never really known, I can't correlate the connection between you divorcing someone and moving on to you not loving Christ anymore. Do men in the body of Christ who get divorced, do you get like typecast as somebody who no longer is a lover of Christ? Do you automatically get typecast as no longer being saved? Has that ever like happened to you before, where it's like, you don't love God, you must be out there going wild and crazy and this and this and that? Do you feel like in the body of Christ, as a man who's ever been divorced or gotten divorced, do you feel like people believe that you are just this loose, rampant, out of control animal? because a lot of people like to equate men to dogs. I don't know. That's really disrespectful. But are you this loose, antiquated, misogynist animal that's just out there and you just have no feelings, and you did these horrible things to your wife and it's no longer working between you, so you just pulled away and ran into the arms of somebody else? Or was it something that happened over time that caused a breakdown in the relationship and ultimately a death of the marriage, and nobody's willing to hear you out, nobody's willing to understand your side of the story, and nobody's willing to empathize with what you're going through and your emotions as a man? Because when you're a man in the body of Christ, you're automatically typecast as a villain once divorce comes into play. Just a little food for thought. Bye for now.